Colin Butter, and is an associate professor of Bio-Veterinary Science at the University of Lincoln, joining us now from Lincoln. Thanks for your time. How alarming is this?
I don't think this is especially alarming. It's, of course, extremely concerning for the patients and their family. But there's nothing to suggest at this point that this particular virus that the patient has is a direct threat to people.
So you're saying
to
that
a wider population.
Right. My next question, you're saying that the risk to the general public then is, how would you describe it?
Low, definitely low. This is a strain of virus that we know quite a lot about. Since this morning, we've learned the strain that the patient has. And it's a strain of virus that is aggressive in people, and that's really unfortunate. But it seems very likely this person has contracted the virus directly from chickens. There have been nearly 400 people died over the course of H5n1 over the last 10 years or so. But that's always the result of direct infection from birds. The really dangerous thing would be if such a virus developed mutations that allowed it to transmit from person to person. There are molecular barriers that presently stop that. And it is very concerning that viruses evolve and that possibility eventually may come about. That would be exceedingly dangerous.
When you say may come about, what kind of, can you put a timeline on it or some sort of scale going forward? And what you're saying is right now, it cannot be spread from human to human, correct?
Right now, it can't be spread from human to human. I can't put a timeline on that. All I can say is that there were 3 substantial pandemics of influenza in the last century, all of which came from birds. And 1 in this century that came from pigs. So if you reckon on 3 a century, then it's a matter of probability and time.
What is the sort of the rising frequency and diversity of these types of viruses tell you about their adaptability?
Well, these are what we call RNA viruses. RNA is nucleic acid. It's extremely mutatable. So it does change and it does evolve, and you can see that happening almost in real time now. The H5n1 influenza virus has got into a number of species, in domesticated species. Recently, we've seen infections of cows with a very particular strain of H5n1, particularly in North America, and that has infected people with, in this case, very mild symptoms. It's having an exceedingly damaging effect in the southern hemisphere in wildlife, in Arctic wildlife. So, there are very substantial repercussions. And as this virus evolves and takes up new ecological niches, we're likely to see more damage.
How is this one different to H1N1, for example?
This is H5n1. It's just a slightly different strain of it, but it is H5n1.
Okay, great. Thank you for the clarification. Dr. Colin Butter is an associate professor of Bio-Veterinary Science at the University of Lincoln. Thanks for speaking to us from Lincoln. Okay, we'll now speak to Kimberly Halkett, joining us from the White House. So, Kimberly, a new administration coming in next month, and President Trump has promised to reshape the health department. What's going on?
Yeah, well, there is some concern about this new virus, given the fact that there is a new incoming administration, and the person that is tapped by the president-elect Donald Trump for the nation's top health job has some controversial views when it comes to different positions when it comes to public health. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., for example, is a proponent of consuming raw milk. And many people would say, what does that have to do with H5n1? Well, that is where, out in California last week, the virus was detected. So there is some concern about that, given the fact that health experts say this really underscores the risk for foodborne illness outbreaks. And the fear is that the incoming administration may not have the right people in place to not only detect this virus, but also to mitigate another outbreak.
So based on history and how the Trump administration responded to COVID-19, would some Americans be concerned right now?
Yeah, not just some, a lot of Americans are really concerned because they've kind of seen this movie before when it comes to COVID-19. You'll remember when Donald Trump was last in office, COVID-19 broke out, and many people would argue that the response was botched. In other words, a lot of people say that people died due to the fact that the administration was unprepared, there was inadequate testing, slow response, the economy shut down, schools shut down, there was learning gaps, et cetera, et cetera. So the big fear is that this could happen again. The other big fear is, according to public health experts, is that given the fact that the Trump administration says it wants to cut the size of government, again, there may not be the people in place when it comes to public health to not only detect, not only, look for this virus, but also to respond to it should it appear in large scale or even to mutate. So that is the big fear among the public health experts, is that there could be another sort of global health emergency and there simply won't be the people on the ground to respond to that sort of emergency.
Okay, thank you so much. Kimberly Halkett reporting from the White House.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.